My unit probably is not gonna like this video, but I'm gonna do it anyway, because I'm Team SWARTZ. So, you join the Army National Guard or the Army Reserve. For whatever reason, now you wanna go active duty. In this video, I will be discussing some scenarios that you might find yourself at when trying or attempting to go active duty. I will be providing insights, tips, and tricks to possibly set you up for success for this possible transfer, along with some restrictions and additional information that you need to be aware of to make a well-informed decision. So stay tuned. Here we go! What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Team SWARTZ, and if this is your first time here, welcome to my channel. I post a ton of Army basic training tips, recruiting, and other Army-related videos. I also go live weekly addressing your questions and concerns directly. So with that being said, when joining the military, it is possible that maybe you were afraid to deep dive and take that full-time commitment, that risk of going active duty. So that prompted you to go Army National Guard or possibly Army Reserve and utilize and leverage us as a stepping stone to test us out, to feel it out before taking a plunge to go active duty. So with that being said, you can go from part-time and upgrade to full-time, but you cannot go full-time active duty and be like, whoa, I made a mistake. I'm gonna go part-time, or I just want out because I don't like it. Doesn't work that way, okay? So if you're watching this video, it probably means that you've already enlisted in the Army National Guard, Army Reserve, and you're looking to know how to go to active duty. So first things first, you have to be and remain in good standings with your assigned unit, meaning that you cannot be flagged, you cannot be barred from reenlistment pending any UCMJ or negative actions, no temporary medical profiles. Your med pros must be green across the board, meaning that if you have any amber or red sections within your med pros, you need to rectify that before even entertaining this idea. You also must have a good passing PT test and pass your height and weight or be within the body fat standards. Understand that you're in the Guard and Army Reserve and that your request to be released to go active duty is not guaranteed to be approved. It is simply a request. But still, at the very least, still an opportunity and a possibility. Because again, if you go active duty, there's no possibility to downgrade to go Reserve or Guard, essentially part-time. You're stuck in active duty. But if you go Guard and Reserve, it is always going to be a possibility to go from part-time to full-time. Gaining your unit support is imperative, and you must have a compelling reason, like a need, not a want, a need. So let's go over some of these reasons, these compelling reasons to go active duty. What are my best tips and tricks to improve your probability of this becoming a reality? The first thing you need to do is to get a conditional release signed off on. That is through a form called a DD Form 368, Request for Conditional Release. Your best bet, your best reason is to express to your unit that you have a financial hardship. We're in the middle of a pandemic, you probably lost your job, you're probably unemployed, you need the benefits, the full-time pay, the whole 9 yards. You need to go active duty. Your secondary reasons can be for career progression, experience, so on and so forth. But it has to be for a compelling reason, closer to a need rather than a want. You can't just walk in there and be like, it just sounds good. I just want to go active. Because if you do that, you're not going to be taken seriously. So sell yourself, sell your situation, be confident, and be serious. So let's go over these steps that are needed to go active duty. Step number 1, find an active duty recruiter and complete that form, DD Form 368, Request for Conditional Release. Once your recruiter fills his part out, you sign your part, you are going to then go to step 2, which is to email it to your full-time admin. I suggest that you CC your squad leader, platoon sergeant, platoon leader, first sergeant, and company commander along with your active duty recruiter. I would also CC myself, so I have a copy in my email as well. Step 3 is at your next battle assembly, I think is what the Army Reserve calls it. In the Guard, we just call it drill weekend. But tomato, same thing. So when you go to your next drill, you're going to bring that hard copy, right, that physical copy of the DD Form 368 to your unit. I also suggest that either right before or right after you hit send on that email, that you send a courtesy text message or a courtesy phone call to your squad leader and or your platoon sergeant, just to give them a heads up of what your intent is, so that when you go to drill, they're not blindsided and you get a stern talking to for jumping your chain, so on and so forth. Expect to be counseled initially verbally and then eventually written. So step 4 is to complete your request for discharge to transfer to active duty. Now this process in document list, which I'll go over with you in a second, may vary from unit to unit and what their SOP or standard operating procedures are, but these are probably, in my opinion, the minimum required documents to submit for your conditional release. You're going to need a DA form 4187, request for action to be discharged to transfer to active duty or to another branch of military uniformed service. For enlisted, you're going to need a memorandum for justification. I highly recommend that you also get a unit commander's recommendation letter to include any counseling forms that you would get at minimum your company commander and or your retention NCO or your battalion career counselor. And last but not least, your conditional release form, DD Form 368. Once this is completed and submitted to your chain of command, you're going to go to step 5. And step 5 is to follow up with your active duty recruiter at least monthly, maybe bi-monthly, just to give them a nice warm and fuzzy that you're there, you're still interested and committed to going active duty. But understand that your recruiter is not going to make you a high priority or drop everything that they're doing to talk to you and all that good stuff, because until you get that approved DD Form 368, they're looking at you as a waste of time because they can't do anything with you without that approved form. Additionally to that, on step 6, you are going to follow up with your unit admin at least bi-monthly, every 2 weeks. I don't care if they tell you that you're annoying and not to call back. They'll let you know when it's ready, right? You're not a priority. They have a lot going on at the unit level, and they're not going to see your request as a high priority. More than likely, it happens all the time, unfortunately, but whether you're in Guard Reserve, your full-timer is going to forget, right? Because it's on the back burner. They got so many other things to do. So they'll get to it when they want to get to it. So don't let them tell you not to contact them. Be tactful and respectful and call them regardless of what they say at least once every 2 weeks, just to follow up and to remind them, because I guarantee you that if you wait 2-3 months and be like, hey, Sergeant, what's up with my conditional release? What's the status on it? Oh, in their head, they didn't even submit it, but they're going to tell you, oh, it's still up at battalion. We're waiting for them to make a decision, so on and so forth, right? Or they may say we lost it or what have you. And because you emailed it in step 2, you can now forward them that email so that they can take care of it from there, okay? Because if you just bring in a hard copy and you give it to them and they lose it, now you have nothing. So always have a digital footprint, proof, and evidence that you submitted it. Step 7 is a suggestion. What I would do if I were in your shoes trying to go active duty, while I'm waiting for this conditional release to come back to me, I will be completing my application. I'll provide a link down below for you to complete on your own, print it out, type it up, whatever you want, save it on your desktop. So once you get that conditional release back, signed and approved, you can then bring that to your recruiter with all your initial documents, just like you did for your original enlistment, thus making your recruiter's life way easier. The last step, step number 8, is when you do finally get your approved conditional release, DD Form 368, you will have 60 days to make it happen. 60 days from the date that it was signed. Not when you received it, 60 days from the date that it was signed and approved to go active duty or to another branch of service, unless it's otherwise stated or annotated on the form. Warning. Do not get complacent or do something stupid like not going to drill weekends, going to your scheduled military school, or getting in trouble, or what have you. You must stay and remain in good standing with your unit, because this is just simply a free ticket to possibly leave to go active duty or to another branch of service. So until you actually sign your new contract, you still belong to the National Guard or your reserve unit. So let's say you enlisted and you are waiting to go to basic training or your OSET. If you're in the Army Reserve and you are in the Delayed Entry Program, the DEP program, and you're not in paid status, meaning that you're not actively drilling in paid status at your local reserve unit, you can request to go active duty regardless of what your recruiter says, It's going to take about 90 days to process that DEP discharge and then turn around right afterwards to go active duty. But if you're in the DEP program in paid status, meaning you are actively drilling with your reserve unit and getting paid for it, it's up to your command on whether or not they're going to approve your DEP discharge so that you can go active duty from there. For the Army Reserve, your approval authority is at least an 06 colonel in your chain of command. Once you ship out to training, as a reservist, you have to get MOS qualified before you can drop your request for a conditional release to go active duty. So let's talk about the Army National Guard. You are first not in the delayed entry program. You are not part of their DEP program. You will be assigned to your recruit sustainment program. Unlike the DEP program where they have no military status, in the RSP, the difference is your contract starts that day. Active duty and reserve, unless the reserve is actually assigned to a unit in paid status, are in the delayed entry program. So they have no military status until the day they ship. The day they ship is when their contract officially starts. In the Guard, because you are in paid status and you have military status, your contract starts that date. So with that being said, you're in paid status, and by Army regulation, just like a reservist who's in training full time, you're gonna have to wait until you're at least MOS qualified. What the difference is, because you belong to the state, there are additional state policies. So your TAG or your Adjutant General may have a state policy where, like in the New York Army National Guard, we require you to wait an additional 6 months from the date you graduate from AIT, or at least 6 drills with your unit before you can then request your conditional release. Whereas a reserve, once you come back from basic training in AIT and you're MOS qualified, you could drop it sooner. Your state may be different, but that's how it is in the New York Army National Guard. Our approval authority is the Adjutant General. Your TAG must sign and approve your conditional release request. That is the difference. Now, if your training, your ship date for basic training AIT is not for another 120 days or more, then by Army regulation, you could submit a request for a conditional release to go active duty. Only if it's over 120 days. If your ship date is less than 120 days from when you request your conditional release, then you're screwed. You're gonna have to wait until you complete all your initial entry training and then some, and then request a conditional release. So let's talk about post-initial entry training. You're in your unit and life changes, what have you, and you wanna go active duty, right? You've already completed training, time has already gone by, and you're in the reserve, in the Guard, and you have however much time left on your contract, and you can't wait or don't want to wait until the end of your contract when you ETS out of the Guard or reserve. The process, as long as you're otherwise eligible to enlist and was qualified, and everything I previously described, you can submit your conditional release at any point. So you're wondering, how long does it take to go through this process of requesting a conditional release, and when is the best time to submit such request? In a perfect world, your conditional release could or should be completed or decided on within 30 to 45 days, but it's not uncommon for your request to get dragged out for up to 180 days, roughly 6 months. You have to understand that in recruiting, it's a numbers game, and we promise a specific number to Congress by the end of our fiscal year. So your best time to submit a conditional release to possibly go active duty is in our first 2 quarters. If you're watching this video, it's because you're already in, but if you're not and you just stumble across this video, we go by fiscal year, not calendar year. So the beginning of our year starts October 1st and concludes on 31 September. So the first 2 quarters, October through March, is your most optimal time to submit such request. The reason being is once you get past the first half of the year, we're in the last 6 months of our fiscal year and we need to finish by a specific number. So mind you that if you belong to the Guard or Reserve and they're behind on their numbers and they're like afraid that they're not going to hit their end strength goal at the end of our fiscal year, you're gonna be held until the start of the new fiscal year. They're not gonna let you drop off the books. So if you're in the Guard, just like I just said, if our state is not gonna hit their number, they're not going to release you regardless of what your reasons are. That sucks. They should do the right thing if it's, especially for like a financial hardship like I previously described. But hopefully they'll do the right thing. However, but they're going to hold on to you into the new FY. So the best time to do it, honestly, in my opinion, the best time is October through December. Also understand that as a reservist or a guard member, that when you apply to go active duty, you're gonna have restrictions. Your active duty recruiter is not going to be able to just give you whatever you want, right? They have what they call prior service business rules, and I'll post a link down below for you to check out the current business rules for all prior service members. So you will be restricted to certain MOSs and or opportunities based on vacancies and availability. So take that with a grain of salt, be open-minded and flexible. So if you happen to catch this video before enlisting into the Army Reserve or Army National Guard or active duty, choose wisely. Whether you're going guard, active reserve, if you're stumbling across this before you actually sign your contract, make a well-informed decision. Really weigh out your options and choose the best component of the Army or branch of service that suits your needs for your reasons and your reasons alone. Do not let your recruiter strong-arm you, persuade you, or push or pressure you into making a decision before you're fully committed and comfortable with your decision. I recently did a video on how to join the U.S. Army. It's called Do Not Join the U.S. Army Until You Watch This Video First. I'll also post a link down below for you to check out later if you prefer. If you made it this far into the video, do me a favor, drop a hashtag Team SWARTZ down below, letting me know that you're my ride or die MVP Team SWARTZ squad member watching the entire video. Like this video, smash it if that's something you're into, letting me know that you appreciate these tips. If you don't like it, give me a thumbs down too. I don't care. Engagement is engagement. With that being said, I'll see you in the next video. Hold up! Wait a minute. Like this video and follow me on social. And while you're at it, go ahead and check out one of my other videos right over here. Just pick one. They're pretty cool. I mean, I liked it. I mean, I was in it. Spoiler alert. I teach you something. Just saying.